This is a fan-generated show. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new Rumble channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Obama's True Legacy: How He Transformed America. There's a reason why Mike Huckabee calls it a ferocious and chilling read. Order it now at Amazon.com or at FrontPageMag.com. Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, another fantastic program with another fantastic guest. Ladies and gentlemen, first, please remember we're a fan-generated program. And as always, we're experiencing a lot of persecution and shadow banning by the deep state. Please help us as much as you can. Go to our YouTube channel, our Rumble channel, and subscribe. Press instant notification. Press like a lot. Make a lot of comments. Go to jamieglazov.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. And if you have some extra finances, please help us out, because we're only, as I said, going forward, and we're only able to produce content because of our viewers and supporters. And as always, support Annie Cyrus and her fight for freedom at liveuptofreedom.com. What an honor, privilege, and pleasure to have back with us this evening Trevor Loudon, a public speaker, a political activist, and author of his latest book, Security Risk Senators. Trevor, what an honor to have you back.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Jamie.
Thank you. Well, Trevor, you were reluctantly coming on because when I invited you, you said it's a very boring time, very uneventful time. We're not even sure what there is to talk about.
That's right. I've been racking my brains. What is there? What's going on?
What is the top thing on your mind the last couple hours?
Well, I think probably Kamala Harris. You know, will she be the candidate? And the fact that nobody except Front Page News is really talking about her extensive communist background. And it is extensive. She is a red diaper baby, Maoist, revolutionary, ultra leftist. But that's not what you're hearing in the media.
Absolutely, Trevor. And Trevor is referring, I think so, to frontpagemag.com. Everybody go to our magazine, Front Page Magazine, frontpagemag.com, and we're covering who Kamala Harris really is. And we just posted our profile on her at discoverthenetworks.org. Always go to discoverthenetworks.org, where we unravel and unveil and expose the unholy alliance. But there's a huge profile there on Kamala, and it's horrifying in terms of who she really is. Trevor, where do we even start with Kamala? Her position on the border. She wants to give free health care to illegals. Just an overall very frightening record. She's a communist.
There's no doubt. Her Senate record is one of the most left-wing senators. She's worse than Elizabeth Warren, but she is, yes, her parents were communist. She grew up with communists. She was financed by communists. She dated a communist. Her best friends were communists. She promoted communists, and she had links with communists who had direct ties to the Chinese embassy, the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. She is unequivocally a communist.
Trevor, one of her, I don't even know where to start. We could start with that she thinks that the burdens of the past are connected to the burdens of the past because burdens are often connected to the burdens of, I mean, it's just, it's so cringe that often I think that there's spiritual forces out there that they're torturing us. This is some kind of perverted torture of Americans. They've put these people in power on purpose, not just to destroy the country, but to play these perverted mind games on us. And just this Biden-Kamala theater, it's just so surreal, Trevor. And so her views, we can get to her views on Israel, and of course the border, etc. But if I'm not mistaken, she believes that aid for floods and tornadoes and hurricanes should be distributed based on race and gender for the sake of equity.
Yeah, well, that is the Marxist view. Like the Marxists believe we are groups of people. We're not individuals. We don't have separate needs. Black people have different needs than white people, than Asian Americans, the Native Americans. Females have different needs than males. And there's been an imbalance in our society where the white capitalist male has had all this stuff to the detriment of the other groups. So, in the name of equity, communism, we must take the wealth and give more of it to the people of disadvantage, the people of color, the you know the more disadvantages you have, the more you should get. If you're black, you're gay, you're disabled, you're good. You're top of the chain. But what people need to understand, this is Marxism. The old original Marxism was all about the class struggle. The workers would take the wealth of the capitalists because the capitalists stole it off them. Well, now that's the same argument extended to race and gender, that the oppressed people of color need to appropriate the wealth and power of the white capitalists, and the oppressed women have to take the wealth of everybody. So she's a Marxist. Her whole thinking is permeated with Marxism because that's what she learned in the baby carriage. That's what she learned from her parents when she used to go to protests as a young girl, yelling freedom, freedom, as she says, at these rallies and that kind of thing. She has never been anything but a Marxist her whole life.
Yeah, and her father, if I'm not mistaken, was a Marxist professor.
John Harris at Stanford, yeah.
So just the thought that,
An open Marxist. He was recruited by a group of DSA communists at Stanford because, as an affirmative action Marxist, because they didn't have enough Marxist professors in the economics department at the time. So they specifically chose him because he was a Marxist and mounted a campaign to bring him to Stanford.
So we have these Alinsky kind of strategies. Sometimes they come with a suit and a tie, and they pretend that they're part of the middle class, but their agenda is to destroy the middle class. They pretend that they're pro-American Democrats, but they're really communists. So Obama, in many respects, was an infiltrator, disguised his views a little bit more. He was a little bit more deceptive. But we know who he really was and what he really did and continues to do. But with Kamala, it's a little bit more of an open book, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Obama was coming from a more conservative era. 2008, after the Bushes, after Republican rule for a long time, only a few years after the collapse of communism, you still had to be a little more careful. The country was a little more conservative then. You had to pretend to be a Christian, for instance. He had to tone down his Marxist rhetoric. He had to really hide it. It's not so much now. Now the Democrats have gone so left wing now that Obama would have been seen as a moderate back by today's standard. He wouldn't be radical enough for them. But Kamala fits into that perfectly. She's the next stage on from Obama. She is as Marxist as you can get, and she will do every single thing she can to wreck this country, from opening the borders even wider to implementing all these racial and DEI things in all of the schools, freeing criminals, empowering Black Lives Matter, gutting the military, empowering her enemies. I can't think of a single positive thing she would do for America.
Your thoughts on her disposition towards Israel, October 7th, Hamas? Netanyahu just got here. I don't think he got the friendliest welcome by the Biden regime. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, the Democratic Party now is pretty much anti-Israel sentiment is the ruling ethos of today's Democratic Party, and that's getting pretty open now. And Kamala is absolutely 100% on board with that. She would have no time for Israel whatsoever, and completely aligned with the so-called Palestinians. There's no pro-Israel sentiment in that woman whatsoever. She's completely on board with the hard left line.
What's interesting is that she has a Jewish husband, but we know that the Jewish community can be very split. It's obviously not an Orthodox Jewish individual. Perhaps he's more secular, and we know that there's leftist Jews that actually work very destructively against the interests of the Jewish people in Israel, right?
Like Jews for peace, and the several, if not now, several major left-wing Jewish organizations, including J Street, by the way, which poses as a pro-Israel group, which are completely on board with the destruction of Israel. And you find that very hard to understand, but communists in general are on board with the destruction of their own countries. So it's not hard to understand why communist Jews might be on board with the destruction of Israel.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-hatred there. I've studied this my whole life. I've written in United in Hate, I wrote and studied quite a bit about these leftist Jews and how they harm the West and Israel. Just this desire to shed oneself of one's own unwanted self, the desire to shed oneself of one's own Judaism and Jewishness.
Psychological basis to this.
Yeah, and Kenneth Levin, the best work on this. It's called The Oslo Syndrome. And just a brilliant book in showing how leftist Jews in Israel, even though they knew what the Oslo Syndrome really was and who the peace partner was, they pursued it anyway. And very powerful book that everybody should get. So look, a lot of self-hate on many levels, including Kamala Harris and Americans. I'll put that in quotation mark. There's certain Americans that want to destroy America. Trevor, why, you got to think the Biden regime, how we saw what they did in Afghanistan, opening the border to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of illegals. Why are they doing this?
Well, because we are being run by the 60s, and we're being run now by the Democratic Party, and the country indeed is being run by the Vietnam generation. The people who supported the Viet Cong in the 60s, then they loved Fidel Castro. They went down and worshipped at the feet of the Sandinistas. They loved all the third world communists. That's exactly where Kamala Harris comes from. They loved the Black Panthers. That generation, David Horowitz's old friends, who never turned. They are the people, and the generation behind them are the people who are now running America's institutions. They believe in Marxism. They believe America is an evil country that got rich by ripping off the third world and off the back of slavery. They don't believe in any of America's great achievements. And they think it is their duty to expiate their guilt, to bring about a revolution in America, so that America is no longer the leading country in the world. So America is brought down to everyone else's level, and this place becomes a socialist hellhole. That is their motivation. They want their revolution before they die. And these people are now in their 60s and in their 70s. The peak of their wealth, the peak of their power. They're running the AFL-CIO. They're running Hollywood, a lot of our large magazines and media outlets. They're running the Democratic Party, absolutely. And as I say, they want their revolution before they die. And they've trained the academics amongst them have trained up several cohorts of new young radicals that we're now seeing on the streets, trying to relive the 60s, trying to make their lives meaningful by being part of the revolution. So we are in that revolutionary period, and we've got to push back and stop these people, turn them back, so that saner people can come through. So we get over this cohort from the 60s and the 70s that's still plaguing us.
Thank you, Trevor. Well, they want ground zero, and then they build their paradise on the ashes of that destruction.
I don't even think they want to build their paradise. They just want to destroy.
Yes.
They will say, well, we're going to build socialism. But
Yes.
I read the communist publications. In the 30s, they would talk about the great socialist paradise that was coming. They don't even talk about that now.
Yeah.
They talk nothing about. All it is destroying America and Israel.
Yes.
That is their goal. That's what motivates them. And maybe we'll do something afterwards, but they haven't really thought that through.
I'm so glad you said that, because of course I'm being facetious about the paradise that they're going to build on the ashes. And I think you're also being slightly rhetorical, saying they haven't thought that through, because I think they have thought that through very much, in the sense that they create ground zero, just like that. You know, I've studied, also documented this in United in Hate, just the ecstasy the left was in when 9/11 happened, because when all that destruction happens, then they're going to build their paradise, quote unquote. But just like, I'll get to that. But we see what Stalin did. We see what Mao did. We see what Pol Pot did. So they have thought it through, Trevor, in the sense that the killing machine starts and it takes on a life of its own. The destruction never ends, because they're going to destroy America. But then afterwards, the paradise really just is Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge. They just continue it.
Yeah, it'll never stop. And
yeah,
see, you know, people think, well, these are Americans. The American revolutionaries will be as brutal as the North Korean revolutionaries, or the Cuban revolutionaries, or the Chinese revolutionaries. But they will have better surveillance technology. So, you know, it's like North Korea. It'll be like, if they get power, if they really get power, this country will be like North Korea with American technology. Can you imagine a more fun combination than that?
And I'm so glad you said that, Trevor, because it's the technocratic Stalinism now. So they got to get rid of Trump. Trump's in the way. So now the communists, they're not just building the killing fields, and it'll be like Pol Pot was able to do that in Cambodia. Now it goes worldwide. So we got the Rockefeller Foundation, we got the World Economic Forum, we've got the Gates, we've got all of that. They want to build, and we even look what WHO is up to, the World Health Organization. They want to build this whole globalist cocoon. And then we see a little bit already of what's in Revelation about the mark of the beast. And we've already seen this. We see the Chinese social credit system, how it's working in China. So eventually there will be a global digital ID. This is, and this is not just what I'm thinking. I'm reading and studying what these people are planning. And
they're talking openly about this.
Yeah, they're talking Yuval Harari very openly is talking about, even though he pretends that he's just analyzing the situation, you kind of know, he's the right-hand man of Klaus Schwab. You know what these people...
And probably one of the most deluded and evil men on the planet.
Yeah, and they talk about chipping under the skin. And, we know that all this transgenderism and transhumanism is interconnected. But the world is coming. It's already in China. We know what Trudeau did in terms of the truckers and in terms of freezing bank accounts. Trevor, the day is coming when you and I might do a show like this, and I'll go to the store and they'll say, "Oh, sorry, your credit card doesn't work, sir. Here's a number you call. You need to go to a little rehabilitation center to adjust your thoughts, and then maybe your credit card will work eventually." But their goal, and they talk about this, is, it's a Chinese style social credit system, and they're going to perfect it with technology, and they want to build it worldwide. And 10 years ago, we might not have understood or seen the mark of the beast, how it would work, how Revelation describes it. But now we can see it very clearly, right?
Yeah, the technology is available to do this kind of thing now. And that is why it's so important we must resist all of these things. See, the thing I'm all about, Jamie, is, the signs all around us, we're coming to the end of this civilization. But this is the thing. Is it our job to fight this and delay it and even conquer it? You know, what is our role here as humans on this earth? Are we meant to just be passive observers and let these plans unfold as some Christians believe? Or should we be fighting every single step of the way, pushing the evildoers back, increasing freedom? What is our role? I know what side I'm on here, but I think a lot of people have got to decide where they're at. Is it our role to fight back, or is it our role to be passive observers? There's nothing I can see in the Bible or any other religious text that tells me we're supposed to be passive observers.
Absolutely, Trevor. And what's so disheartening is I take a look at at the truth tellers like you and some of us out there trying to do, and I look at the views and I look at the support. And some of us, don't get me wrong, we're doing okay. But I'll be going through social media and I'll just go to the reels and these videos or TikTok. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I go through video sections sometimes, and I'll, there's these videos of, these naked women or whoever they are, and they're all doing this choreographed dancing, and it's very, it's not a very ethical or moral, let me put it that way. And their lyrics and all this choreographed weird twerking and dancing, and you're thinking, what is this? But the comments are more horrifying than the video. And it's not 10 comments, it's hundreds of thousands, and the views are hundreds of thousands. So where I'm going with this is the people have been brainwashed. Like the KGB, we know when we read their documents and plans, they wanted to corrupt the youth. They wanted to corrupt the culture of the United States. And where I'm going with this now is you and I are discussing what we're facing, and look what so many Americans are actually interested in. These videos and their, all this trans stuff and all their, their new dance moves. It's very disheartening because a very large percentage of people are just completely aloof and indifferent to what's happening.
Yeah, it's Marx said that religion was the opiate of the people. Well, now it's TikTok. Now it's entertainment. Now it's sports. The whole culture has been shifted away from wholesome pursuits and learning and education and study and spiritual reflection to just mindless entertainment. And so this has been a deliberate plan by the Chinese, by the Russians for a long time. They got into the entertainment industry. They became big time drug pushers, big time pornography pushers, all of this kind of thing. We can see what we don't understand is we're living in a time where this society's been degraded. But what most people don't understand is this was a deliberate process, an ongoing process pushed by the Soviets, the Chinese, the Cubans, various globalist forces, our own foundations, because we've had a revolutionary movement inside the country now for 100 years. And it's taken them this long to get this far, but technology is driving them farther, further, and quicker. So we when Trump turned back down on banning TikTok the other day, I was just shocked. Who the heck is advising him on this? We had a chance to ban one of the most subversive things in the country, and Trump vetoed it. This was just, I cannot understand what his thinking was there.
Maybe they're trying to maybe they're trying to get the cool vote. And
they may be trying to use it for themselves. And you can see Trump's trying to do this, by bringing Amber Rose into the convention and things. And I can see value in that, actually.
Yeah.
But, to allow a Chinese operation that is corrupting the minds of millions of kids and every single keystroke they make is being recorded to build profiles on people for future use. To allow that to continue is beyond negligent.
Let's go for a quick sponsor break and we'll be right back.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took My Pillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented My Pillow to bring you the best pillow in history, My Pillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that My Pillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The My Pillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last My Pillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. My Pillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new My Pillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit MyPillow.com.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to go to MyPillow.com or MyStore.com and use promo code GG21. You can get a discount of up to 60% off on all the amazing products, and you're going to be helping out Mike Lindell and the Glazov Gang. And if you like one-of-a-kind handmade art, make sure to go to LUTFstudio.com and purchase resin art pieces made by our producer, the one and only Annie Cyrus. Use promo code GLAZOV to get special discounts. You're going to be helping the Glazov Gang, and you're also going to be helping out Annie Cyrus, that's on the front lines of the battle for freedom, for America, for liberty, and for the truth. We are back with the one and only Trevor Loudon. Trevor, somebody tries to kill Trump. A lot of weird questions surrounding it. More and more disturbing information coming out every day. But all of a sudden, Biden gets COVID. Biden disappears. Biden steps down. Now it's Kamala. Are you with me on this? Somehow everybody, it's like the Trump assassination's a thing, attempted assassination is a thing of the past now. They did something with the news cycle, didn't they?
Well, they threw out some shiny objects that, that Kamala was the new thing. And all the left are piling on, wow, she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But if they go to the brokered convention and somebody else takes the spot, they'll be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and Kamala will be gone in 5 minutes. So this is, look, what we're dealing with was a left-wing media that doesn't have to get an email every morning on what you do. They basically know that the message is finish Trump, finish the conservatives, move things progressive, support progressive candidates, support progressive leadership. So they know instantly the messaging that they've got to do. They know they've got to talk about Kamala now. They know that they've got to forget about Trump, the assassination attempt, and the various scandals that are being uncovered surrounding that. They just want enough of the population to move on so that they don't dwell in this and become more conservative. So the left are in a really desperate position actually right now, because that assassination attempt, if I didn't believe in miracles before that, I sure do now. And that was, and there was a tragedy. 2 people were hurt, another man was killed. But you got to think millions of people around the world saw the distinctive character of that man, in a way that you just couldn't script. And that was, I think there's some divine intervention there, to be honest. And so, they knew, they knew they couldn't go on with Joe. They had to bring in Kamala, but I think the Kamala effect is going to be pretty short-lived, and it may not even continue, it may not even be Kamala. But the whole media is going to put all the oxygen her way and trying to take every bit of oxygen away from Trump. That's why Trump's got to keep doing his rallies, big rallies. Go to California, go to Oregon, especially California. Make them fight on their turf. Go up to New York and do a couple of rallies. Certainly hit the Midwest. And so, I think it's a fascinating election. I don't know what surprises are in store. I'm sure the Chinese and the Russians have got some surprises for us, and the jihadis.
Trevor, when you talk about divine intervention, I'm there with you on that. Obviously our brains are tiny, 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 and we don't know how God works. And sometimes we get maybe a little bit upset with God, or we question his means, but one thing is for sure is that he exists and that he has his will and he operates in his way. And we just have to lay down our concerns and our worries at his feet and just ask for his mercy and let everything be in his will. Now, I didn't mean to turn into a priest or a pastor here. What I'm really hoping for is, if I think there was divine intervention there, I think there was the armor of God. I think it was a providential moment of protection. But if God protected Trump from getting killed, that means that Trump has a role to play still, and maybe it's because he is meant to be president.
Yeah, well, that's the message I get, but the other message I get is this. Okay, people are rising up. People are trying to take their country back. More people are turning to faith. More people are turning to God. They're showing courage. Courage and faith go together. That pleases God. I'm going to help you here. But it doesn't mean you give up. It means here's some hope. Double down. Get even better. Get even more faithful. Get even more courageous. Stand behind this man and take this darn country back. Do not let evil prevail. That's the message I get from that.
Trevor, Russia always seems to be at the epicenter of things. The Communist Revolution, as we know, and the Soviet Union, and how all of that evil on some levels began in Russia in terms of the earthly incarnations of communism being in practice. As a Catholic, I followed very much and continue to do in terms of the miracle of Fatima, in terms of Mary's message to the children about Russia. But we know many Catholic prophecies also that Russia plays a main message, not just in if humans continue to sin, how communism chastises the world, but eventually that Russia plays a role in saving the world from evil. Like, this is all very complicated, but Russia seems to play some kind of central role. And you're an expert on this individual, Alexander Dugin. He's a Russian philosopher. Some people call him the brain of Putin. But he has this multipolarity ideology, and kind of nurturing it in conservative circles in the West. There's a certain MAGA communism, I think, that he's pushing for. This is a little bit eyebrow raising. What do you make of it?
Well, see, this is Dugin's philosophy. See, Dugin is combining the sort of what he would call the left wing of the Nazi movement with the right wing of the communist movement. See, we've got two kinds of communism in the West right now. We've got the woke communism, which was given to us by Russia and China. This is the radical gays, this is the pronouns, this is the transgender movement, this is the political correctness, all the left-wing feminist woke stuff that we all despise, that is just disgusting, beyond disgusting. Now, this has created a big reaction, especially a lot of young men hate this stuff. They despise it, as they should. So now you've got this right-wing communism, this masculine, no pansy wokeism. This is what Putin is championing. This is what Tulsi Gabbard is championing. This is what many of the alt-right are championing. And this is what the MAGA communist movement is championing. The antidote to wokeism is not, like I would say, it's the Constitution, it's God, it's getting back to America's foundations. That's the antidote to wokeism. They say no, the antidote to wokeism is MAGA communism, patriotic communism, masculine communism, family values communism. And this is a real movement driven by people like Jackson Hinkle and Hazal Din, who have millions of followers. And they are working directly with the Russians and the Chinese. They are infiltrating the conservative movement to try, and they believe they can build communism out of the MAGA movement. What I really think they're trying to do is so infiltrate the MAGA movement with lunatics that it can be easily discredited. And I'll give an example of this. We all remember Charlottesville, right? The Charlottesville disaster, where you had a big battle on the streets of Charlottesville. Now, that was pro-Russian communists from the Workers' World Party, the Party of Socialism Liberation, battling on the street with pro-Russian MAGA communists and alt-rightists and white supremacists. Both sides were pro-Russian. And who got the blame for it? President Trump and the Republicans and the MAGA movement. This is what it's all about. MAGA is infiltrating, MAGA communism is infiltrating the conservative movement, and it's going to massively discredit it and cause division. And it's directed completely by the Russians and the Chinese. It's completely a puppet movement to destroy the real MAGA movement in this country.
And Trevor, there's quite a few conservatives in America who believe that, look, all this transgender and these destructive leftist movements and how we've lost our morality and ethics, and look at Putin over there that represents Christianity and morality, and they believe that Putin will kind of save not just the world, but the West from its own self-destruction. And you're saying that that's very misguided, right?
Oh, it's an absolute scam. This is a Russian disinformation thing. That is Dugin and that is Putin. Look, what they're doing, the Putinists and the Duginists are promising the white supremacists a white socialist republic stretching from Siberia across Europe to Canada. The United States will go to the Chinese. And so, and they're calling for revolutionary defeaters, and they want China to win the next war because that'll bring communism. But getting back to Putin, Putin is using Christianity the same way Stalin did to rally the people. You know, when Nazis invaded Russia in 1941, they almost beat the Russians. And Stalin had to open the Orthodox churches again to rally the people, because they hated communism, but they would fight for the church. They would fight for their country. Now, this is what's happening now. 6% of Russians go to church every week, 6%. You can only go to the Orthodox Church, which is completely controlled by the KGB. If you go to another church like Seventh-day Adventist, Baptist, whatever, you cannot proselytize outside your church, and you cannot bring your children into the church. That is a fact. But you've got millions of American Christians believing that Putin is a man of God. Look, Putin organized 2 major youth conferences, one in 2017 in Sochi, Russia, 30,000 kids, another one early this year in Moscow. And he keynoted them, and the kids treated him like he was a rock star. And he said, the future is yours, go for it. These weren't 30,000 young Christian kids. These were 30,000 young communists. They were there to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. Putin is erecting statues to Lenin in the occupied territories of the Donbass in Ukraine. He is persecuting the Christians like crazy in Donbass in Ukraine. He is using Chechen Muslims to kill Christians and Jews in the Ukraine. Russia has 6 times the abortion rate of America, 4 times the divorce rate, way less churchgoers, massive drug problems, but Russia's this great Christian country that's going to save us from George Soros and the Muslim hordes, even though it was Putin who drove the Muslim hordes into Europe from Syria and got his agent Angela Merkel to let 1 million of them into Germany. Russia may save us one day, but it ain't going to be under Putin, I can tell you that. He is a hardcore communist. He is working with the French Communist Party, all the old communist parties of Europe. He's working with China, working with Hamas, working with Venezuela and Cuba. But he's also working with the US right and many elements of the US right and the European right. He's working both sides. Both sides. He is not going to save us. He is the major enemy right now. He's more dangerous than Xi Jinping because he's got 4 times the nukes that China's got.
Our producer, Annie Cyrus, often, no, not often, I would say always adds a lot of profound perspective and wisdom when she contributes her ideas and thoughts to a discussion. Annie, what do you think about this conversation tonight? And overall, what are your thoughts on the crazy developments in the last couple weeks?
Well, thank you, Jamie, for including me in this fascinating discussion. I would say crazy is an understatement of what has been going on since July 13th until today. But I have a question for Trevor, or more of, so I have this gut feeling, Trevor, and it's just a gut feeling. But this scenario seems to be very well written. First we're going to try to take out Trump. If that fails, we're going to take out Biden. Then we're going to try to, put somebody up who might possibly win and beat Trump. But seems like while this script was being written by whomever, because we don't know who's running the country, right? Whomever is running it is writing it. It seems like they made a major mistake. And now there is an internal crack, wide gap of division inside Democrat Party itself. We have the Kamala cheerleaders, and then we have we don't know who might be the possible option. Do you think it's possible that they might quickly change the scenario and force Kamala to be the candidate by, let's say, impeaching Biden or using, 25th to remove him, put Kamala as active president?
Well, I see what you mean, so that Biden actually resigns from the job totally. I don't think that's necessary. I think he will just be put in the background. they'll keep him on life support as long, until inauguration day. But see, the left have really caused themselves a huge problem. See, I was saying back in 2019 that Kamala Harris was not going to be on the presidential ticket in 2020, and everybody laughed. Okay, but I knew. See, Kamala Harris is the protege of Steve Phillips, very, very rich communist from San Francisco. Barack Obama was his protege. So is Andrew Gillum in Florida. So is Stacey Abrams in Georgia. So is Crybaby Corey, the senator from New Jersey. This man got Kamala her job as the district attorney in San Francisco. He got her the job as California Attorney General, got her into the U.S. Senate, then he got her on the ticket. She was supposed to be the presidential candidate in 2020, but she was so darn unpopular that she had to bow out. Then Bernie was getting out of control, so they had to use Biden. They had to get Jim Clyburn to endorse Biden in South Carolina so Biden could get ahead of Bernie. And then they were stuck with Biden. But then they brought Kamala in as the VP. And I think the plan was that Joe, after they cheated and won the election, would bow out. But he's a stubborn old cuss, and he knows he could go to jail if he's not in the White House. So he hung on. So this has really caused big problems for the Dems, massive problems. They're stuck with Kamala, who everybody despises. This is their own fault. It's delicious to watch. Might be tragic for the country, but I think Joe is just out of the picture now. He'll might turn up to eat ice cream at the local local retirement center from time to time, but nobody wants him to endorse him. Nobody wants him on the ticket. He'll just follow the orders that Barack Obama and Xi Jinping give him every day until he retires to his big severance package. And I hate to think how big that was.
I completely understand. But let me ask you this then. Why is it that Obama or Obamas are still quiet and haven't endorsed Kamala?
I think they will. I think they realize too that Kamala is only marginally better than Biden. What the Democrats are so desperate. They knew they had to get rid of Biden. Kamala is the first person they go to, but not their desired one, really. They want a candidate who can at least give the fraud some plausibility. No one would believe that if Biden beat Trump in November, that it was an honest election. The whole world would know it was fraud. So they have to have someone else who can at least close the gap enough to make the fraud more plausible. So I think Obama is still looking at someone like Gretchen Whitmer or Wes Moore from Maryland, or maybe even probably Josh Shapiro actually to do the job. And Josh Shapiro will be on the VP ticket or the actual ticket because he's from Pennsylvania and he's got a pretty moderate image. And Pennsylvania and Ohio are so critical to all of this. So I think Kamala's in there to get rid of Joe, just like Joe was put in there to get rid of Bernie. But I think we could still see something else play out yet, maybe.
So we should just wait until August to see the real plan, the final plan.
Yeah, well, look, and it may be Kamala. It may be. Maybe they don't have another plan because it's going to be so complicated with money and ballot access and all of these other things. It ain't easy to swap somebody out at this late stage. So I don't know, but I'm sure they would love to. I'm sure they don't want Kamala, but anybody's better than Joe Biden. At least they can energize the black woman base, or they hope they can. At least they will minimize some of the down ballot losses. They hope they can. They know they were in for an absolute slaughter with Biden. They'll probably do a little bit better with Kamala, but I'm sure they have candidates that would prefer even over those two.
Absolutely. Agreed. One more question, and I promise I will leave you to the rest
I
of
don't
the
mind.
time.
That's fine.
I'm almost sure that I'm very aware of the history of Kamala, but for our audience who are not, do you mind giving us a quick rundown of her history and involvement when it comes to Iran nuclear deal, Hamas, Gaza border, Palestinians, just the overgeneral view of Kamala dealing with that part of the war?
Well, she was a big supporter of the Iran nuclear deal. She is a big supporter of Black Lives Matter and the Maoist movement, which is the backbone of the pro-Palestine, anti-Israel movement. So she is completely in bed with these people. Her best friend is one of her best friends is Alicia Garza, the founder of Black Lives Matter, who went, her friend did, Patrice Cullors, the other founder, went to Ramallah in 2015 and chanted these wonderful pro-Palestine slogans all over the place, met with leaders of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the communist terrorist group. So these are Kamala's people. She is, completely in bed with the pro-Palestinian element, 100%. And she has never done anything, never been friendly to Israel. She should have been on that plane. She should have been in that airport greeting Bibi Netanyahu the other day. But I knew she wouldn't be, because that would send the wrong signal to her base. And her base is Black Lives Matter, the Maoists, Students for Justice in Palestine, and the radical left. That's her base.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I've heard last few days a lot of people saying, "Oh, Kamala is too dumb. She's just an alphabet salad. She doesn't know anything." I hope people realize behind all of that evil laughter and alphabet salad, there's pure evil, and she knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, look, yeah, she isn't the brightest, but she'll be a puppet of Obama, but even more crazy and out there than him. She is as radical as you can get. She makes Bernie Sanders look like Winston Churchill. She is as hardcore communist as anybody in this country, but she's a wealthy communist, which makes it even worse.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trevor. Thank you, Jamie, for including me in this discussion.
And thank you, Annie. I was very gifted to have the dad that I did. And I remember I was describing this particular individual that was roaring, laughing in a certain eerie way one time about something. And my dad says to me, "He's not married, is he?" And I remember I was a little bit taken aback by that. But my dad studied laughter very much, and he studied Dostoevsky. And in Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Devils, we see the revolutionaries engaged in a certain laughter. And it's a kind of demonic laughter as they're paving the way to the killing fields of socialism. And Dostoevsky was very prophetic, but it's interesting, Dostoevsky's analysis of laughter. And we know that laughter can be very beautiful, it can be divine, it can be angelic, it can be connected to God's precious creation, but it can also take on other realms of the demonic. Hillary's laugh, Kamala's laugh. Annie, what do you make of Hillary's laugh and Kamala's laugh? What is all that about?
I personally, okay, I'm going to be sexist a little bit here. As a woman, we do really have different types of laugh. We have different smiles and different laughs. And one shared between Kamala and Hillary, and I would also go further and say Rashida shares the same laughter, and so does Linda Sarsour. It's the I won't even say devilish. It's that you don't know what I'm up to laughter.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the I just fooled you and you have no idea I just fooled you laughter.
It's there's a real malicious streak to it. It's not a joyous, open laughter. It's I've got one over you laughter.
Exactly.
You know, we've all seen the picture of the clip of Joe Biden when he walked away from the podium after just talking about Donald Trump being prosecuted, and he sort of turns around and gives this sort of grin. You know, that was demonic. That was demonic. And I think that's exactly what I think you're exactly right. That, see, nobody knows I'm a communist. Ha 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 ha. People just think I'm an airhead. Ha ha ha. I'm going to show you. You wait till I'm in power. You'll be laughing then. These are all severely damaged people who have spent their whole lives trying to gain power over others so they can damage other people. That's Kamala, and that is Hillary, and that's Rashida Tlaib, that's Linda Sarsour. They are damaged individuals, every single one of them.
Well, thank you. So, Annie, so you were saying that it's a kind of I'm getting one over on you kind of laugh, and very proud of it, and very, very satisfied, deriving a lot of satisfaction from the deception that they're engaged in. And
deception was the word I was trying to exactly.
Yeah, and and Trevor, and you're agreeing, right?
Yeah, look, they are all trying to destroy our countries, and they go out saying all these things, all these wonderful things, and they are malicious and are hidden about it. And that's the laugh of a malicious person who thinks they're superior to you and they've got one over you. That's what they're really thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just want to say that, you know, sometimes I'm so interested in laughter, and I've always been interested in how contagious laughter is. And let's say if I come into a room and the closest people to me are laughing together a little bit, a smile kind of appears on your face, right? And you don't even have to hear what they're saying or know what they're talking about. It's just if they're laughing, you start laughing. But when Kamala's laughing, this is how I feel.
You do not want to join in her laughter, do you?
No. It's
want to be part of that laughter.
It's kind of like watching The Exorcist and The Ring when the girl comes out of the television put together. But Annie, thank you for your profound contributions as always. Trevor, is it okay to call you a gentleman and a scholar?
Yeah, I think more semi-accurate. Yeah, that's.
And everybody should be visiting trevorloudon.com, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's where my books are, my DVDs, all that kind of thing. Yep. If you want to know who
Trevor,
the commies are in your government, that's where you go.
Trevor, thank you so much for studying and valiantly exposing one of the greatest threats to humanity, if not the greatest threat to humanity on, of course, several realms. Thank you for joining the Glazov Gang.
Always a pleasure, Jamie. Thanks so much. And thanks so much, Annie, for being part of it. And thanks to all the listeners.
Annie, should we make a recording of Kamala's laughter as a kind of audio video to the intro of our show in the future?
Well, I mean, we're not in business of torturing our audience, are we?
Yeah, you might want people might just turn you off.
Bad idea. We'll see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night.